Hi, I'm Joe with C&J Goods, and I'm helped today with by my lovely assistant, Frankie.
Hello!
And we're going to go over sewing needles really quick for leather versus canvas.
So, first question, what is the difference between a sewing needle and a leather needle?
Okay, well, this lovely little guy is a regular sewing needle, and you'll notice that it's nice and small and hard to see on the screen. This is one that I use for leather. It's a little bit bigger in diameter and a little bit sturdier. It also is not sharp, so if I go to poke myself, it's going to be really hard for me to pierce skin. This guy, I'm not going to show you that because I really don't want it in my hand. I've got a couple different types here because there's different types of leather to sew. This one is for doing 2 running needles at the same time, and again, it is dull. This is a much bigger example. I can show you some pieces on. Thank you, nature, for chipping in there. And then this guy is a glover's needle. Now this one's a little bit different because this one is actually very pointy and sharp. And it also has, if you can see a little flash there when I rotated, it's not cylindrical at this end. It's actually triangular in shape. So those are flat sides there. Okay. So for this one, remember what I said we would use it on?
On thin types of...
Right, it's called a glover's needle because you would want to use really thin leather for making gloves, okay? And this is my big honkin' example needle because generally speaking, I don't really need to use thread quite that heavy for this. But it's really good to point out a couple things that are featured on the leatherworking needles versus regular needles. So there's a little channel here on the end that when I put the leather on it, the cording on it, it's actually going to be no wider than the diameter of the rest of the needle, okay? If I try to do that with this, I'm going to make a much bigger hole. Now, what's the difference between sewing leather and sewing canvas? Remember?
So sewing canvas, when you puncture a hole in canvas, you can easily mend it back together.
Right. So if I take one of my big honkin' leather needles and I put a hole in here, it's got a nice big hole, but you can sort of work it out. Now the reason for that is we're actually going between the fibers of canvases. So any kind of material that's woven, you actually, when you're piercing it to sew it together, you're going between the fibers rather than into them. With leather, this is all fiber. There's nothing to push out of the way. So if I put a hole in this, it stays. It's not going to go anywhere. In fact, it may stretch bigger over time rather than get super small.